Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I am delighted to be joined. Oh my God, that's a first one slip. Definitely, we're not boined. Buoyant, perhaps. Joined by Lloyd Patrick Jepson. That'll be in the old blooper reels. And Kevin McCluskey dialing in all the way from Hungary. And can I just say, looking resplendent in that 1950s/60s Celtic shamrock top. Beautiful. Where on earth did you get it? It's gorgeous.
I'm not sure when I got it, actually. There was I was back home in Scotland and some random guy from Fife was handing them out. So got them. I think it's a Celtic State of Mind was his outlet. Yes.
Check it out. Check it out. Acsom. There it is. The shop's underneath. Beautifully modelled. It wasn't, you weren't ordered to wear that, just in case anybody's wondering. We are here today to watch Celtic versus Livingston in the Scottish Cup in a season that hasn't really gone to plan, has it, guys? And we've got the starting 11, which obviously we'll go through. We'll have a wee chat about this week, where we are and where we see today's performance going. Starting off with the Celtic 11 then, let's get stuck right in about it. Joe Hart in goals, he is the captain of the side today. The back four, gentlemen. We have Alistair Johnston at right back, Greg Taylor at left back, and it's Scales and Welsh in the middle. The midfield three, no change of shape here. Iwata, O'Reilly and Bernardo. And then up top, we've got Kuhn, Ida and Maida. No place in the starting 11 for Kyogo. So on the bench, Lagerbielke in from the cold. He was feeling the cold. He hasn't kicked the ball all year. He was on his way out to Italy, and obviously the move was blocked after the injury to Carter Vickers. And Carter Vickers has been rested today. Kyogo's on the bench, as is Home. Returns to the bench alongside Bain, Vata, Daniel Kelly. A lot of people were shouting for him to get a start. Jamesy Forrest and Tony Ralston. We're up against a side here who will be playing a 4-2-3-1. And it's McGovern, Nottingham, Obalai, Kelly, Montano, Kelly, Brandon, quite a few Kellys, Nubley, Bradley, Mackay, and Yenge. Now, we talk about, the gap in terms of, the financial muscle when we go into the Champions League and stuff like that. I've often heard the same argument being applied when we come up against a team like Livingston, Lloyd, because we know that the financial gulf is there. For example, a player who has probably given us a wee bit of trouble in the past, Nubley, his wage is £500 a week. That's his wages. £500 a week. That's what he's getting paid. Now, we know that's not how you win and lose football games, though, is it, Lloyd?
No, exactly. It's not. It's who you put into the pitch and who's determined to win the game. But you're obviously round off the start 11 there, and obviously we're all aware that there's two big surprises in that team today, especially for me as well. There's two big surprises, but the main thing for me, why is there no change of shape? Why not go two up top? It's a cup game. Get the cup tie over and done with, and then start making changes. There's no point in. I just think he's got this one wrong, Brendan. I really do.
There's been a big complaint really all season about the tempo, Kevin, and often the way to change that is to mix it up a bit. And we were talking about that coming into the game. You're at home. You're playing the worst team in the league. No disrespect, Livingston, but you're rotten. That might come back and haunt me. Not as bad as the Boyne comment at the top of the show. You play an attacking side. You take the shackles off, Kevin, no? Because I'm looking at that. Yeah, we've got some defensive worries. Carter Vickers, it was announced yesterday, was going to miss today's game, and he will be missed. But surely we've got enough personnel to be able to change the shape, still come through unscathed, and get Kyogo in the park.
I mean, you would think so, right? In an ideal world, of course we are. We're going into this game. Excuse me, I was looking at Livy's stats just before coming on here, and I know that this is only in the league I was looking at, but they've won one of the last 21 games in the league. They haven't scored in 11 of those 21 games. There is a weird anomaly, though, that they've outscored their opponents in XG in 8 of those games, which didn't include the games that they actually won. So they do create some chances, but they just can't finish them off. But to all intents and purposes, yeah, you're playing against the worst team in the league. It's a home game. It's a cup game. Just go for it. Like Lloyd said as well, and like you've said, just like take the shackles off and just go for it. Make the change. Be adventurous. I think Jim Orr said it on Friday's show. It's the one game that we could afford to not win. Not that we don't want to win it, but it's the one game that you can afford to not win because it's the cup game. There's no points at stake here. It's just progression in the cup. So take a wee risk, make the change, and see if we played two up front and we blew them away. Would that not give you the confidence to go and try that in future games in the league? The only thing is, again, listening back to quite a few of the shows from during the week, and everyone's asking for a change of shape. Deep down, we all knew it was never coming. Rodgers is stuck to 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, the variant, throughout the whole season. He's never changed it. I don't think he's going to. I think he's stubborn enough that he'll stick with it. But if there was a chance, if there was a game, well, we had one against Bucky Thistle with the chance to make the formation change there. We didn't. We've got another ideal chance today. He hasn't done it. So I just don't think he will. But looking at the team that we've got on the pitch, it's definitely good enough to win this game. So we should still have confidence, regardless of the shape, that come the end of the day, the name of Celtic will be in the draw for the semi-finals.
Let's hope so. We're going to run through that team in more depth. Get your thoughts in the comments section. Coffee. Of course, we're not missing in action. We're here every single day, 12:30, on the nose. Sometimes my clock's running a wee bit slow, but every time it goes to 12:30, we're on and we're live. 30 minutes before
it's the time
game.
difference to Fife, that's all it is.
Listen, we're international continental. You're in Hungary. You know, I'm in Fife. It's different time zones.
I'm somewhere.
Somewhere, yes. Who knows? Who knows where? Here we go. Let's get some of the comments coming in. Stephen Sloan. That's got to be one of the weakest looking Celtic teams I've seen in a long time. Is it? I think it is. I think it's a defence that's making you think that. Given that we should still beat Livingston comfortably. I agree with you, Stephen. We had a wee chat, Lloyd and I, before because we were waiting on Kev. It was him that was late. We were waiting on Kev coming in. And we said that, you know, we were talking about the fact that, you know, if, for example, there's certain areas of your team that have been weakened through injury. And by the way, we've been hammered by injury. I'm going to bring this up here, by the way, because people do believe that we need to stop covering for Rodgers. He's finished, says Donny Tiny Hands. But listen, let's talk about the injuries for a moment. You look at that side, it's ravaged by injury. Carter Vickers is missing from the central defensive area. Who would be the backup? Probably Nawrocki. He started a couple of games, looked as though he was coming into the fold. He's injured. So then you're going into your next choice, which is Welsh. Does that mean we're playing our third choice centre-back there? Yeah, it does. And then on the bench, you've got Lagerbielke, who the gaffer didn't want in January. The only reason we kept him was through the default of Carter Vickers' injury. So I get that. I think behind you, you've got Joe Hart, who's obviously wearing the captain's armband today. He needs to be a leader. He's obviously the third in command when it comes to leadership on the park. He's got the captain's armband. You look at the midfield. Is the midfield lacking? Matt O'Reilly there, regardless of any kind of form issues that some have with him, he's been the best player all season. Awata, maybe not at his best at Tynecastle, but, you know, the circumstances weren't great. I still think that it's the right choice to stick with him. And Bernardo's not been in great form, but we have seen that he can be. We have seen some good form from Bernardo. Not so good that I would push the boat out and keep him at the end of the season. But I'm not that concerned about the midfield. We're playing Livingston here. And then up top, my concern's probably Kuhn. We've not seen Kuhn having a good game. So within the 11, the starting 11, I would say my big concern really is Welsh and Kuhn. Do you share any of those concerns, Lloyd?
Yeah, that's kind of it. Obviously, when flagged up earlier, that's the main two concerns I'm considering with today's team, because obviously we've not seen anything really from Kuhn. I mean, I think Jim spoke to him at his press conference and he was saying how he liked to get forward and beat a man. I've not seen any of that from him at all yet. In regards to Welsh, he's good for the Scottish League and obviously today's game, but is he a player that's going to kick us on long term? Probably not. So he is one of the backups. But then you look at Lagerbielke, we spent $3 million on him. Why is he not getting in that team? It's just bad recruitment again. And I know we've banged on about it all season, about recruitment and the board and everything. Sometimes I just want to talk about the football because it's probably given a lot of sore heads and a bit more frustration all the time talking about it. But you look at that team today and mostly everyone's all saying the same thing. It's not a great team on paper, but
No,
it should get the job done. That's the only thing.
I mean, I'm looking at my predicted 11, which I made on Friday before the press conference, and I had Carter Vickers and Palmer in the team. And you know, you're looking at that thinking that would have been a much stronger team with those two guys in it, even though Palmer is now the backup. And I think you cannot take for granted. People keep telling me that Brendan Rodgers has taken a treble-winning side, Kevin, and destroyed it. My point that I made this morning that goes over the heads of the knuckle-dragging Union Jack emojis on the comment section, unfortunately. But most people get what I'm trying to mean is Brendan Rodgers has been hamstrung by the fact that we've lost a lot of quality. We've lost a lot of quality in players who have gone, but also in those who are injured. If you go into a game like today and you're without Rio Atati, who was a whisker away from being Scotland's best player last season, you're without Carter Vickers, who's the rock at the back. Absolutely. He makes anybody playing alongside him look better. You're without your captain in Callum McGregor. And then, you know, you're without Palmer. Now, I don't put Palmer in the same category as the other three, but he's a guy who would have started today, I think, ahead of Kuhn. So you're without three really important figures. You've lost Abada and Starfelt and Moy and Jota. And then, of course, you're reminded when Giakoumakis starts scoring hat-tricks over in the MLS that he was around the building last season, as was Juranovic. We've lost half a team through transfers. We've lost another three through injuries. And the three mentioned, two of them have been injured for most of the season. So, you know, regardless of who you bring in, you've lost loads of quality there, Kev. And then, of course, it brings in the point Lloyd made, which we have gone into extensively. The recruitment's not been good enough. So I get what Donny Tiny Hands was saying. It sounds funny that I'm actually referring to you as Donny Tiny Hands. Just tell me your name, Donny. Donny Tiny Hands. I get what you mean. It sounds as though you're making excuses for Brendan. What I'm trying to do is be as balanced as possible. There are mitigating circumstances. Yes, the football has been turgid at times. It's slow. It lacks the tempo, the entertainment, the flair. However, there's other issues. People always use as an argument, Kev, he's ruined Kyogo. He's ruined Kyogo. I hear it all the time. But he has been up against it. Look at the quality that's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you want to be balanced about it, then you need to look at all facets of the argument, and everything that you've mentioned there is valid. So there's a lot of people, and we can all be guilty of it as well. At times you come on after a game and your opinion is based on the emotion of just having watched a game of football. So after Dundee, we're all extremely high and the world's the best it's ever been. You know, we're going to romp on and win the league from there on in. And then you kind of get brought down to earth with the game against Hearts at the weekend, where you lose it. And you get the complete opposite. You know, the players are rubbish, the manager's rubbish, he's a busted flush and all this. And it's that rhetoric that comes out. And a lot of it is just, it's knee-jerk. It's the emotion of the event at the time. Actually, I think if you looked at the game against Hearts last week, we weren't that bad. It was a couple of shocking decisions that cost us that game. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for Brendan Rodgers because I think he's come in branding himself as an elite level manager and as a coach. It's his duty to get the best out of the players that he's got. I don't necessarily think he has in every occasion. And Keel was the biggest example. I think he's gone backwards because the system that we're playing. But at the same time, I will be prepared to say, do you know what, though? He's had a terrible run of injuries. If you look at that team that's playing just now, and I think it was Stuart Sloan's point at the beginning about it being a really weak team, it's because half of that team is second choice, right? Scales is probably your third choice centre back if everyone's fit, because you go with Carter Vickers and Nawrocki, but he's had to play all season because we've never had anyone else fit. Welsh is fourth choice. Iwata and Bernardo are second choice in their positions in midfield. He does second choice up front, really, if you've got an on-fire Kyogo. And you could add in Kuhn and Maida as well. Are they actually your first choice wingers? So, yeah, Brendan's not been great this season, but there's been a lot of other factors that have gone against him. So, the fact that we are in a title race, it's kudos to him. It's kudos to the players. If we come out of today still in the cup, we're in the semi-final draw, and we're still on for a double. And for all the negativity that's been thrown around about the whole season, to go back to Brendan's words of the narrative of the season will write itself. We could still come away with a double, not having been at our best. So there's things to try and be positive about and take away from that.
Yeah, listen, if we come on here before our game against Livingston in the Cup and we're negative, you're going to get people saying that, we're only on here to be negative and moan and groan. I genuinely never deliberately come on negative, never. Talking about Brendan Rodgers, I've been critical. I've been very critical of the way that we've not utilised our wingers. Maybe his argument would be the wingers aren't good enough. They're not the wingers I want. I wanted different wingers. I wanted Daniel Podence from Wolves, because that was the guy we were linked with. And then we end up getting a whole host of wingers that he doesn't think are good enough. He then doesn't think that guys at the club are good enough to play on the wing, i.e. Mikey Johnston. Right, I've said it. There's a Clarkson, Mikey Johnston, big massive Clarkson. Yes, he scored. He scored another 2 goals today for West Brom. We know
it was coming.
Exactly. And every single time he scores more goals, he becomes a better player in the eyes of many. And I won't allow that to kind of blind my view on Mikey Johnston, right? So I'm going to bring in a few of these. Mikey Johnston scores 2 again today for West Brom. Brilliant. I am delighted for the boy. I think that takes his tally up to 6, John. I'm sure it's 6 he's scored now down there. I've not seen today's goals, but it seems as though the previous 4 were all belters. Absolutely brilliant. Coming in from the left-hand side, scalping the ball in. He plays in a different league. He's playing against opposition who come into games with a different shape, a different mentality and approach to the game. He's playing away a wee bit more freedom. There's a pressure to playing for Celtic that some people can't handle. Not just those who come to the club, but guys like Mikey Johnston who've been at the club since they were pre-team. The break into the side, I think he was 17 when he breaks into the first team. He's been in and around the first team for many, many years. And you ask yourself the question, I'm going to, just give me your honest opinion on this, Lloyd, right? If Mikey Johnston hasn't progressed since he came into the Celtic side 7 seasons ago, right? And you say, well, some of that's down to injuries. You've got to say that. Some of it's down to injuries, right? He's been injury plagued. I mean, he came in, when Ange came in, first thing that Mikey Johnston does is get injured. When Brendan comes in, first thing Mikey Johnston does is get injured. So the timing has been terrible, right? Then there's been occasions where he's not taking his opportunity. That's on the player. So you've got a wee bit of bad luck. You've got a wee bit on the player. Have the club done enough to develop him? I don't know. He's been in and around that first team and he's not really been playing many games. When should the development loan have happened? Because he's now got that loan that's working. I think he done pretty well last season on loan in Portugal. He ends up becoming an Ireland international and a regular under Stephen Kenny. So he developed when he was on loan, but that was last season. He's doing well on loan this season. That development loan probably should have happened 5 seasons ago, Lloyd. So yeah. I think you can attribute blame all over the place. But I think the result for me is that Mikey Johnston's never going to come back and replicate the form that he is currently having at Celtic Park. So you wish him all the best. You hope that he does really well with West Brom and he secures a permanent move and he enjoys the rest of his career. I just can't see it working at Celtic.
No, I don't see it either. I think you've hit everything on nearly the head there with Mikey Johnston. Obviously, yeah, he's had quite an injury-plagued career as well. But that with the loans, I mean, I think last season was the first loan out of the club as well, over to Portugal, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so yeah. So obviously, I'm sure he was injured during that as well. Brendan obviously brought him into the team, I think, same day as Anthony Ralston. Anthony Ralston's took his chance, and he knows that he's a backup player. Doesn't bother him, but he knows fine well he'll get a chance in that team. Mikey Johnston hasn't really ever took his chance, and maybe it is down to the pressure of playing for a club like Celtic. Maybe he just couldn't handle it. But now he's got that pressure off him down at West Brom and he's flying. But he's a talented player. And listen, all the best to him. And I hope he does well wherever he goes in the future.
No, without a doubt. The Jean-Paul II, MJ playing like Messi. Unbelievable. Long may it continue. David comes in to say another 2 goals for Mikey Johnston. And Gypsy King would go as far to say get Mikey Johnston back. The reason I'm bringing this up, Kevin, can you imagine that starting 11 that we've just read out? And Kuhn's not in it, but Mikey Johnston is. Kuhn then becomes the greatest player that isn't playing. and everybody's groaning that Mikey Johnston's getting a start. In an alternative universe, that's what's happening right now.
Exactly. I can't remember if I said this to you during the last show that I was on with you, or if it was one of those ones after it. But I remember the whole Bobo Balde incident when he didn't play for about a year, and then we went up to Tannadice, and we won away from home, and we kept our first clean sheet away from home in about a year as well. And throughout that whole time when he wasn't playing, Balde had become this. I don't know. I was going to call him a monster of a player. He already was anyway, but he became this amazing player because he wasn't playing. And it just so happened, of course, that when he comes back in, we keep that away clean sheet, and the myth just grew. The same happens now with Mikey Johnston, that he's gone away. I share the view of everyone that I've heard pretty much on here contributing over the last week about him. I wish him all the best down there at West Brom. I think he's found his level. He's clearly a talented player, but he's had 6 or 7 years worth of chances at Celtic and not been able to take a single one and get a run in the team. I know he's had injuries, but he's never been able to cement a place when he's been fit. I think his game will suit the Championship in England because it's more open. There's more teams that are closer together in terms of quality. There's more teams that actually will come as opposition teams and try and win the game. So it's more open. In Scotland, everyone sits back and he seems to get stifled and he doesn't know what to do. His end product and his decision-making is shocking at times. But he's down there, he's got a bit of freedom. He doesn't have the pressure of playing for a big club like Celtic. And maybe that's just what he needs. It's just his level. And he'll go and become a good Championship level player. He'll get an international career with Ireland. And I wish him all the very best. But the more goals he scores for them, the more money that's getting added to his valuation, and the more money we'll get from him in the summer, hopefully.
Yeah, no, 100%. Agree with that. I mean, the minutes he played last season for Vitória Guimarães was more than any other season that he had been at Celtic. He played more minutes for the Portuguese loan club last season than he played for Celtic in any of the previous seasons that he had been involved in the first team. And I think that says it all. So, yeah, a wee bit of blame on the club, not getting him out sooner. Mikey himself had to take his chances, riddled with injuries. He's away and he's flying. Good luck, Mikey Johnston. Jungle Lion, I'm looking forward to seeing his goals now. If you can't play 2 up top against the worst team in the league at home, you never will. I get that feeling. I'm getting that feeling myself. And you also go on to say, I have a funny feeling McGregor might be out for longer. I was hearing yesterday that McGregor was trying his best to play against Hearts. He had to get told by the medical team, you're no playing, because he was that keen. He doesn't think the injury is as bad as it is. But I think the concern is he can aggravate it. It's a calf injury, isn't it? Similar to Hatate's. So he might aggravate it. Paddy, great to see you, Paddy. Kyogo kicking his heels on the bench again. Yep, and that's a bit of a frustration. Kuhn is another transfer failure in a long line. Well, what I said, I was trying to be kind. I don't think we've seen anything from him yet to suggest that he's a starter. The reason he's in the starting lineup is because Mikey Johnston's away down to West Brom, Leela Bada's away to the MLS, and Palmer's injured. So that's why Kuhn's getting a game today, as far as I'm concerned. And you look on the bench as well, there are some options, of course, on the bench. You look at Vata, Rocco Vata, great to see him back in the squad. Jamesy Forrest, he's been missing. I was hearing last night he's not kicked a ball this year. Is that right? He's not actually played for us in the last 12 games, something like that. So Forrest is back on the bench. And of course, Kelly, who can play all across the midfield, he's back on the bench as well. Somebody mentions here, which tickled me in this week of all weeks, Frank Brennan. Mayor Kelly's than on the old Celtic board. I think I would trust the 2 guys at Livingston to do a better job. Coffee, £500 a week. Yeah, absolutely. That's what he's on. That is what the big guy's on. And that is the financial gulf between a team like Livingston and Celtic. I think Livingston got into that league. It was Hopkins, wasn't it? Remember, Hopkins got them. David Hopkins got them promoted. He done so well, and then we know the kind of job that Martindale's done. But the good thing about David Martindale, he never mentions the fact that the club's skint and they can't do any business, which, fair play to him. Joe McAlinden at Kyono, absolutely. You would think Joe was a lyrical genius or something. He would come away with something like that. It's because he is. Check out Joe McAlinden on the socials as well. What's happening with CCV? It looks to me, Lloyd, as though CCV is being kind of like slowly built back up. And if you can rest them, we'll rest them. And today looks as though it's the type of game that you think you can afford to rest them.
Yeah, well, I've got the build up to the game just behind me there, and I think Brendan's just said he's been managed, but he's away for a scan as well. So obviously you kind of hope that he's not picked up another injury, because if he has, then you're starting to wonder why we're bringing him back so soon again. Because
twice.
Is it not 3 times? Because they're not doing
season.
Pre-season as well. So it's the thing with that is, if the player's going to break down like that after an injury and then get re-injured again, you're kind of going to wonder, are they going to be able to play for a full season again? And this is maybe then why you look to the recruitment. That's why we brought in Nawrocki and Lagerbielke, just to basically cover for the one player, because that once again it's not good at all, because you need that same type of quality in your team. And Carter Vickers is a big miss for us, as we've rightly seen over the last few games. When he's not played, that defence, it's weaker, but during the league you still think they should be good enough, and some of them just aren't.
Yeah, you're right. Your second choices, Lloyd, they should still be good enough. And I agree with you. I think that a player like Mikey Johnston before he left, or Tony Ralston, or Stephen Welsh, I do think they're all backup types of players for Celtic. And they should be able to be called upon and do a decent enough job. Listen, it's Livingston. I keep coming back to it, right? And we should be able to do the job. But CCV, he's a huge miss. He's an absolute titan at the back for Celtic. Wolf Tone comes in to say, why wouldn't you give Kelly a go, just in case there's more injuries in midfield? Kevin McCluskey, would you have played young Kelly over Bernardo?
Yes, short answer. Yeah, absolutely would have. I think the young boy's come in over the last couple of games, and he looks a good prospect. He looks comfortable in the ball, really assured. He took his goal excellently well against Dundee, and I think he's a young boy that'll have no fear and be full of confidence coming in. And to get a start in a cup game like this would only benefit him. And again, it's the perfect chance to do it against the side that's bottom of the league. You come in, you're at home, big park. Very little pressure on him as an individual, I think, to play well today. So I would do it. And again, as the player that would drop out, probably it would be Bernardo. He's a guy that has to be playing for his future at Celtic, because he's only here on loan. And if he wants to stay here next season, never mind if we want to keep him, if he wants to stay here, he's got to be putting in the performances that make it impossible for us not to make a bid. And at the moment, after that purple patch at the beginning of the year, he's drifted off again, and he's not doing that. So give Kelly the game for me in this one. It gives you can give him 90 minutes or 60 minutes. You're developing one of your own over a Benfica player who might not be here next season. I think he's potentially the future of the club in the midfield. So we need to start using him. Otherwise, he'll become another one of those young boys that's come through, and we lose him too soon because we haven't given him a pathway.
Yeah, we're going to have to come up with a different way to describe that little patch of form that Paulo Bernardo had, because everybody's calling it a purple patch. So have a wee think about that, Kev. Something a wee bit more radical. Could do. That flash in the pan if we don't keep him. Still 88. We'll be doing doner meat pies before, I'm just taking a wee note of that. Acsom, Shamrock, doner meat pies. Get them on acsom.net. Absolutely, that's a great idea. Thanks for that one. Donny Tiny Hands reckons Vata as well. I would say, Kev, your reasoning is fantastic, right? Around playing Kelly over Bernardo. Donny Tiny Hands, maybe that is your name. Starting Vata over Kuhn. Great in theory, right? But you see that starting 11 as it is, and you replace Kuhn with Vata, and you replace Bernardo with Kelly, and we don't win today's game. And this is a balance. Because then you're all screaming from the rooftops saying, what is Brendan Rodgers thinking about playing the kids? And that's the balance. It's very, very difficult, isn't it?
It is. I remember. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was maybe Inverness Cali Thistle with Lennon, and it was a league game. And he made 6 changes, but we were at home and we lost the game, or we drew the game, and everyone.
Ronnie Dyler. Yeah.
Was it Dyler?
Yeah, O'Connell was playing centre half. Mm-hmm.
That's right, yeah. So it's that kind of thing that you do have. It is a fine balance. There's a balance that you've got to get it right. I don't know. Maybe there's the football romantic in me that goes, give the kids a chance. Give them a game at this stage of the season as well. Could they honestly do any worse than what's been put in front of them so far this season? I don't think so. I think they come in with youthful exuberance and they go out there and they give it 100%. And sometimes that's what you need. And I think you were talking earlier on this week, maybe on Wednesday, about when Roy Aitken was given his chance. And there was a whole host of young boys that were given their chance in a poor Celtic team there. And they all grabbed it. Who's to say that we cannot replicate something like that again with boys like Kelly and Vata and Mitchell Frame when he gets fit again? We want to have a good crop of youngsters coming through. We need to play them.
No, I agree with that. Quick prediction, Lloyd, Patrick, Jepson, how do you see it going today?
I'll go for a comfortable 4-0 Celtic win.
Liking the confidence, Kevin McCluskey.
Nice. I'm not going to go 4, but I think we'll win 2-0.
2-0. I'm going with 2-0. Hopefully that is the outcome of today's Scottish Cup encounter. Let's go to the action. We'll be back at half-time. Thanks everybody for getting involved there in the chat. 1,000 strong. Hopefully we've all got smiles on our faces at half-time. All that's left for me to say, Lloyd, Patrick, Jepson and Kevin McCluskey, thank you for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.